Yeah, that definitely did happen, I think, in the 1870s and after. It wasn't only the Paris Commune, I think, but it was also events in the United States itself. The Molly Maguires in the Pennsylvania coal fields, the great railroad strike of 1877, the rise of a kind of anarchist, radical political ideology among some elements of the working class in the 1880s, the Haymarket bombing in 1886, the Pullman strike in 1894, the large-scale immigration from Eastern and Southern European countries that began in the 1880s and 90s. I think that a lot of people in the North of old Anglo-American background, upper class, having been committed to democracy and a republican form of government as the ideal form of government in the middle 19th century, now began, and having been committed to the ideal of equality, of equal rights, the 14th and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, began to have have second thoughts about this. Prominent journalists like Edwin L. Godkin, who was editor of The Nation, very influential. Prominent journalists like George William Curtis, editor of Harper's Weekly, very strong, radical, and egalitarian in the 1860s, began to wonder if maybe democracy might go too far and social equality might go too far as the country was being torn apart by by conflicts between labor and capital and the strikes, by large-scale immigration. And they began to form more of a bond of sympathy with upper-class Southern whites who were saying, well, you know, we know how to manage our lower classes of a working class of a different ethnic background than we are. And maybe that's not such a bad idea. So you do get a kind of current of ideological congruence between some upper-class northern intellectuals, industrialists, political scientists, thinkers, philosophers in the later decades of the 19th century and saying, well, maybe democracy has its limitations, and that meant a greater degree of congruence and sympathy with upper-class Southern whites in their attempt to create a caste society. In other words, the emergence of a greater degree of class consciousness on the part of the upper class and in the lower classes, I think, in the North, created a greater bond of sympathy with the caste system that was emerging in the South at the same time as the successor to slavery. I think you got your finger, and the Paris Commune did play a major role in that, but I think it was only part of a larger process, both domestic and foreign, that was going on in these later 19th century decades.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.